name is Virginia, and I've developed an interest in the young movers and shakers of this country. And with me today is a young man called Joram Githaiga. I will be asking him some questions, and I would like to talk a bit about him. He is the founder of Reville Organization. He founded it when he was 20. That's very impressive. He's also a public speaker and financial analyst. And on top of that, he's an elected youth leader of Gatondo North. That's very admirable, I might say. So I would like him to tell us a bit about himself. So who are you? Who is Joram Githaiga?
Okay. First and foremost, let me say thank you very much, Virginia, for bringing me here. I have to admit, I'm a bit excited. This is a whole new thing for me. Being identified as a mover and shaker of this republic of ours is quite an honor. And I'll tell you a bit about myself. But before I do, I want to really insist that the Spirit of God may guide me. I'm a man of God. And okay, so you asked me a very interesting question. Who's Joram Githaiga? So Joram Githaiga is a 21-year-old who has done his best to do a couple of things. So I started an organization age 20. It's called Reville Organization. What we do in Reville is we provide Naga County government with community development services. We visit high schools and TVETs. So we talk to young people about how they can impact the society. We provide young people, especially in TVETs, with the skills they require to start a business, to register a company, things like that. So I guess you can call me a business consultant. You can call me a founder. You can call me a CEO. You can call me a leader of young people. It's actually very admirable that you're able to recognize at the age of 18 I happen to have been elected as the youth leader of Gatondo North constituency. Although it's not a title, I still serve in that capacity anymore. Okay. You can call me financial analyst. I am the head of finance at a startup called Match Group. I'm the former sales director of a very prominent entertainment company by the name of Entertainment. And generally, I should also say I'm a student. Sometimes I tend to forget I'm a student because I'm all over. Yes, I'm a student of economics. I'm a writer. And I'm an entrepreneur. In the time I was selling flowers. So that's, I guess, how best I can describe myself.
So I want us to, have a look at your background, see where does Joram come from? Who is Joram?
Okay.
Where did Joram come from?
My origin is very interesting because I was born in a place called Gigania. It's in Gatondo North constituency. In the year 2003, the 2nd of April. That I would say is where I was born. I come from a very interesting family. My father has been in the medical sector his entire life, working with NGOs. My mother has mostly been a stay-at-home mom. I have two brothers and another sister. And my background is interesting because of how we were raised, especially me and my older brother, because he's 2 years my senior. My youngest brother is 16. I'm older than him by 16 years. So our parents raised us in a manner that ensured we were exposed. We were exposed to the things that were happening beyond our neighborhood. Because I remember growing up, I wasn't a very, I was raised among the Kikuyu people, but I couldn't speak very fluent Kikuyu until I was in high school. my parents ensured we had access to TV. We saw a lot of news. We knew what was happening around the country. We were exposed to a lot of theoretical physics. My brother was exposed to a lot of scientific experiments, exposed to technology. And I was exposed to a lot of history, a lot of politics, a lot of international related affairs. Remembering a time when I was, I think, 10, and I was doing a follow-up of the war in Yemen. So yeah, I guess that's the best I can describe my background. But we were a simple family, middle class. Our parents made sure we had enough. We didn't have too much, we didn't have too little. We went to some of the best schools that are in Gatundu North. And we were also exposed to Thika town and how the town area worked. We were exposed to the rulers. So I have a bit of an understanding as far as those two are concerned. So I guess the best way I can describe my background is it's Kenyan, it's normal. Because being a Gen Z, you realize we're exposed to things like Nickelodeon. We watched things like Da Vinci's Learnings. We watched, we used to wake up at around 7 to watch KTN animations, things like Angel Friends, and so on and so forth. So I would say I had a very normal upbringing. What was different was just a few things. Because I would also say I was raised to be very confident. So it also enabled me to stand out. And because my parents ensured we had a good financial backing, I could also take on a lot of risk, which is what I continuously do. I think that's the best way I can describe my background.
So, still on your background, what are some of the values your background has added to become the man that?
Okay. First and foremost, my first role model was my father. And my father played a very key role in terms of the person I would become and the person I have become. First and foremost, we were raised Catholic. So we were introduced to the concept of institutionalism very early. The idea of timekeeping, because you know how mass works. If mass starts at 7, there's a way Catholics have a strict way of handling things. Like if mass is starting at 7, you guys should be there. If you are late, you're committing a cardinal sin. So there's a level of that strictness. So we were taught disciplines, understanding that there's a bigger world other than just us. Because the Catholic Church functions as a big institution. It's not just a church. It's not just a place where we go and talk about Jesus. It also functions as an institution. So my upbringing had a lot to do with there's a world bigger than just us. My family, me, my parents, and all that. I would say the aspect of time and discipline were very important. My father is a very hardworking man. And part of his accomplishments, because my dad didn't initially start, my dad didn't do a degree. My dad got a C-play, Kitambo. So he did a diploma, then he did a higher diploma, then he continued to major like that. And by the time I remember, I was informed too, my dad was very senior in Pathfinder International. So I was very keen to observe how he handled himself in his workplace, how he could relate with other people. So I learned a lot of etiquette from my dad. I learned a lot of social skills from my dad. I learned a lot of the need to put in the work, the need to study, because my dad is a very brilliant man. So the kind of exposure he had is also what he exposed me to. Because I was looking at him, I learned how to carry myself, how you build your image around people, how you treat people, people who are senior, people who are below you. He taught me a lot generally because I was very close to my dad. So I would say those are some of the values that have been very significant. Hard work, the essence of time, the essence of being an overachiever, the essence of the world, understanding the world around you, the essence of how you treat people, those have become very key aspects of my life. Yes, so I would say those are some of the key values I've learned from being the person I have become.
Okay, so you've mentioned you as a Gen Z.
Yes.
So what are some of the issues you feel you face as a Gen Z in Kenya?
Jana, my heart was very heavy because I received a very interesting call from a woman who's very dear to me. She's the mother of my best friend, and they come from Nakuru. She was telling me how young people are being butchered in Nakuru, and the challenge of young people can just be picked up from the streets by the state. I guess that's one challenge. We are a very aggressive generation, profoundly aggressive. We are exposed to a lot of information. We were exposed to the functionalities of the global system. We were exposed to a very harsh climate in the world. So we tended to become very, very aggressive in how we deal with things. You look at, for example, our economy today, there's a lot of inflation. No one can afford anything anymore. So we feel we have a great burden as far as needing to do things and how we can do things so that we become successful. So one challenge is the limits that come with the state, where our dreams are being shattered. I remember the first time I entered a very senior office. I had gone to meet one of the waziris of Kirinyaga County government. And I'm not going to say who it is, but the minute I left that office, I felt very intimidated. Like he didn't speak from a point of you're a young man, you have a very good mind, I like the idea, this is how I can help you implement it. It was all about you're wasting my time, go finish your degree, don't book an appointment with me again. So it's a big challenge when you want to do big things, but there are a lot of factors that are limiting you, one of them being the state. Something else would be our parents. I love the way our parents raised us to think big, to want to do big things, to want things that were bigger than us, and the way they raised us. Because every Gen Z has had an experience with your parent where your parent is like, mimi nimekulea hivi, I don't want you to have this, I don't want you to have more. But the challenge that comes in is when you want to start to do something big, but your parents sometimes won't understand, or maybe your parent is afraid for you. Then that fear becomes a way through which they're limiting you. Because sometimes you will find we are experiencing parents who are like, why do you sound like this? Why are you doing this? Then because we've been exposed to the world, we've learned to admire people beyond our continent, people beyond our country, systems that have not even been applied in this country. So you behave a certain way and your parents like, don't bring this here. You want to maybe start something, your parent is like, you're not going to start this here, you're not going to do this here, you see? And this aspect of when we go home, our parents expect we fit into their systems and their schedules. While a student in university, maybe there's a way campus. When you're in campus, then you're at home and your parents are expecting you, just blend in. So I'd say that's another very big limiting factor. Something else is, I'd say as a Gen Z I'm facing is, there's a lot of spite from one another as Gen Zs. Because you'll often visit institutions and you find young people with opportunity, and they don't want to share with other young people. They feel like, I like to call it primitive competition. We are competing with one another and we are all on the same level. So I'd say that's another challenge, attack from my own generation. Something else is the church. The church is proving very difficult for us because there's a lot of pressure. The church expects we'll conform to a certain way, we'll do things a certain way. They don't want us to introduce our cultures in the church. I like a man of God called Reverend He was talking about how when he was younger and they had started doing, his generation had started doing dreads, how the church elders were like, we refused for you to bring that here. So the challenge is the church is not coming off as a friend to young people. They might create platforms for us, but they're not allowing us to express ourselves as we are in those settings. Because the foundation of something like Christianity is love and mercy. It's just love and mercy. The love God has for us, the love we should have for God, and the mercy God has for us. So I don't get why there's so much pressure in our churches, especially with young people. You find that young people are told, don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other, don't do this. I'm not saying that young people shouldn't be corrected or they shouldn't be condemned where they've been deemed unfit. I'm just saying that we should preach more love than we do correction. Because if there's a certain age you get to, especially as a young person, most Gen Zs are around the ages of 16 and 25. We all know what right is, we all know what wrong is. We've developed a conscience, we understand the complexities that come with good and evil. So most times we don't really need to be told don't do this, don't do that. We simply need to be given a space to express ourselves where we feel we are safe. Because most of us, we've developed insecurities from a point of view not given safe spaces. Those I think are some of the challenges I would say I have faced.
Okay, still on the same, you mentioned you were elected leader of Gatundu North.
Yes.
So as a leader, you have to come up with solutions for issues. So what are some of the solutions you would come up with for the issues you've just mentioned?
Okay. Let me start with something like that. When I served as Gatundu youth leader for around 2 years. And the biggest challenge I faced was I was given the numbers of the area MPs and the MCAs and what have you. But now when you give these leaders a call and you want to sit down with them, they don't want to hear what you have to say. They're not interested, they don't want to hear you, they're completely uncompliant. Then you'll hear them look for you when you have an election. I remember in the election year 2022, because that's around the time when I was elected, I drew a lot of attention from these people. They were looking for me. They're like, hey, we need this young man to come so that he can take us to other young people. But once that was over, I was like, Mheshimiwa, you remember there's a program we wanted to do. He's like, can you please book an appointment with my secretary? Can we do this call later? Then they won't pick up, or they change their number or something like that. So we also experienced that, and there's a time young people nationally had created a movement called the Kenya Youth Federation, and it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work was because the area leaders were not willing to work with us. They were completely uninterested in working with us. I like something like what is happening in Meru County. They have Meru Youth Federation. It's doing very well. We are seeing the leaders of that county opening their doors to the leaders of the Meru Youth Federation, hearing out what they have to say. They're inviting them to begin doing forums with them that can help young people. Now, you asked a very interesting question. Some of the solutions I feel I'd give for some of those challenges. Now, the biggest problem with my generation is this. We want to look at things from, how do I put it? It's like what? It's like when you enter a room, a bedroom, okay? When you enter a bedroom has a bed, a bedroom has a closet, a bedroom has a shoe rack, a bedroom has a couple of mats, maybe a prayer section over there. So young people are looking at, let's say this entire room is the entire system of the world. Young people are looking at the bed. They focused all of their attention on the bed. They are forgetting there's a floor. This floor is what is holding the bed together. They are forgetting above this bed there is a bulb up there. And that bulb is what is lighting this room. They're forgetting there is a window. That window is what keeps the room ventilated. So what am I trying to say? This analogy is simply trying to say we are so focused on the specifics. We are forgetting there is a bigger one. Okay. And what I'm simply trying to say is this. The world is governed systemically. And what do I mean when I say systemically? We've created institutions, and those institutions facilitate a certain way through which things run. So unapata an institution like a campus has its own system. That system is influenced by the system of, maybe assuming it's Kirinyaga University. Kirinyaga University is influenced by, one way or the other, by the system of Kirinyaga County. Kirinyaga County has a system, and that system is run by Kirinyaga County government. Kirinyaga County government has a system that's affected by the national government. Kirinyaga University is also affected by the systems that have been developed by the Ministry of Education. So we are so focused on the individual concerns we have. We are forgetting to look at things from a broader picture. For example, let's talk about the maandamano that happened recently. The country of Kenya was experiencing something that wasn't very unique in the world. We were experiencing a complete degradation of the functionality of our institutions, our public institutions. The private sector was shrinking on a daily basis. We had an economy that was deprived. We had young people who are unemployed. We had issues of young people in campuses, and their fee structures being changed all of a sudden, or the system that the fee payment model system by the government changing. And what we forgot to look at is things like how the external world is affecting our country. We want to talk a lot about the war in Ukraine, and we want to ignore how something like the oil supply in the world has been affected. Russia is a major oil supplier of the world. Ukraine is a major oil supplier of the world. You realize, okay, for example, a country like Russia used to supply most of the gas and most of the oil that is used in Europe. So if you're a Kenyan and we are buying products from Europe, obviously there's going to be a problem. If the European Union is funding our country, they're going to stop funding us because they need to transfer their funds in getting oil from elsewhere. And most likely the oil they're going to get is going to become expensive because there's a shortage in supply. We think about something like COVID-19 and how that affected the general economies of the world. Most countries in the world, we could feed the mob during that 2020 period. That's still money we are paying to this day. We are forgetting things like Kenya had applied for Eurobond in the year 2013, and finally it is our time to pay. So, and you find that all these external mediums are affecting the way our country will behave. But we don't want to see that. We want to look at it simply in terms of Ruto's government has a problem, and the older generation is denying us opportunities. But it is not necessarily that. Another solution I feel, what simply I'm trying to say is this. We need to open our eyes and ears to something more than just our individual challenges. Because we are a very selfish generation. We want to think about, we want to talk about something like how anyone who is 55 years and above should go home. We are forgetting as Gen Z, most of our parents are in their 50s. So if your parent is in his 50s, akienda nyumbani, let's say your parent has been employed by the government, akienda nyumbani, hii serikali retirement benefits take a couple of years to be processed. What will he be feeding your other siblings? What will he be using to feed his wife, your mother? Because unapata, most of us are talking about we need people who are 55 years and above to go home so that we can get jobs. Okay? How open are we to feeding our parents? Because we've been enjoying our parents feeding us for most of the time. So that's something we need to really think about. Issues that are not just affecting us but are affecting everyone in general. So when we are finding solutions, we shouldn't just find solutions that affect us. We should find solutions that affect everyone. Something else. We are a bit of a lazy generation. Very selfish and very lazy. And this is why I'm saying we are lazy. I did something very interesting in the year 2023. I dressed very nicely, as nicely as I am dressed today. And I went to Kirinyaga County offices and I entered the Department of Gender and Youth. And I told them I want to start impacting young people. And I met the director of gender, because the director of youth was not present that day. And she advised me, you can start a young organization, you can invite young people, and you can begin to do forums. And that's what I did. And from there, we went into a partnership with that department where I was providing them community development services. And I can promise you this, for most of the time I was providing them those services, I did them for free. But in as much as I did them for free, I developed a lot of exposure. I developed a lot of data as far as how community groups work, how they influenced our economy, because I have specialized as an economist, how those community groups have fed our families, how they are helping improve the economic levels of some of our villages, some of our communities, how disabled people have been impacted by some of those groups. And I understood that the government is not completely asleep, in as much as you read in the media they are doing a lot of nothing. Because those community groups are assisted by the government. They are funded by the government. The government provides them with the staff that advises these people on how to do things. So what I was bringing forward was discussing with community groups how they can be more financially independent, how they can come up with ways of making an income in a more sustainable way, in a way that protects them, how they can collaborate with even major institutions to protect their interests. So unapata, you begin to create a track record from a very early age. So right now, when I do community development, I charge, but I started with doing it free of charge. So we need to start volunteering for some of the opportunities around. Let's volunteer. Let's visit some of these offices and decide to be part of the solution. Because the minute we start doing that, you'll discover we make such a tremendous impact. You'll develop a lot of exposure. You'll do it for 1 year, but the next year you'll have built so many networks. You will start being paid to provide those services. By now, I have met around 4 or 5 waziris in Kenyatta County government, and they know me by name. And I only started as a volunteer because they were intrigued. Who is this young man who is visiting community and is doing this free of charge? I also made a couple of friends, even in the Chamber of Commerce, because they're also very interested in businesses and the way they function across the country, and as far as community groups are concerned. So really volunteering becomes a very important part of how we expose ourselves. Something else that's also very interesting is we are very easily discouraged, and we like find excuses. When I went to county government, I wasn't experienced. I didn't know a thing about community groups. The only thing I knew is I can sit down with a community group, I can hear what they do, and I can advise them how they can apply better strategies so that they can generate more income. That's all I knew. So unapata, we find a lot of excuses. You are like, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this. I'm not confident. I'm shy. My parents didn't train me to become more confident. We like to blame our insecurities for why we're not putting in the work. But you discover those insecurities the minute we set them aside. The minute we decide, I have this problem, but it's not going to limit me. That's the minute we're going to start making an impact. So we need to take away fear. We need to take away the element of self-doubt. We doubt ourselves so much. Then we like to think some of the skills we have cannot be applied anywhere. You look at a young man like Benihino Lubengo. The only thing that's so interesting, the only thing that Benihino Lubengo is specialized in, sorry to say, is speaking. That's it. That's all that guy knows. He's not necessarily a financial expert like me, for example. He's not necessarily an economist. He's not necessarily a politician. He's just an expert of communication. He can just speak. And he has capitalized on making his ability to speak valuable. Because in this system of ours, this global system I was talking about, how you become relevant is from a point of value, which is even where exposure comes in. Because you have to, the minute you are exposed, you begin to become valuable. Because you develop or you gain skills and talents that make you indispensable as an individual. So unapata, maybe probably you just know how to skate. You can make that something valuable. You can use that and you can make that a source of income. And you discover something like, for example, like dancing. You can use dancing to make anything. Whether you are even what we like to call a yapper. You yap a lot, you just start a podcast. You start making money. So let's not doubt the little qualities we have, because maybe you just look beautiful. We can hire you to be the face of our company. If you're beautiful, you say things like that. It's just about setting yourself up for something bigger than what you normally used to. That's all I can say.
Okay, so you mentioned something. I want to know what's your stance on the political and social issues facing young people. For example, there have been a lot of maandamano, as you mentioned, right? Do you support young people going out there and, or are you on the side of the government and you think we should just sit down and just watch
That's a very interesting question. But my answer is not as straightforward as you put it, whether I'm on the side of Gen Z or I'm on the side of the government. My answer is very simple. I believe in everyone having a constitutional right. I believe in the concept of kuandamana. But I also believe in, if you try something and it doesn't work, you try something else. So I like what young people did when they stood up and they marched into the streets. Because if they didn't march into the streets, finance bill would have just gone. So I really, really appreciate the young people who did that. I remember nilikula tear gas hapa sana kutus. We were there, I was there in sweatpants, a very heavy t-shirt. And I remember that day, the police officers that came in Kutus, those of us that were there, they were firing like bullets. Those of us that were there, they can tell you, it was very scary. And so I like the fact that young people went into the streets and we created this national image for brand for ourselves. We are a generation, we are aggressive, we do this. You come up with a policy, we think it's trash, we'll just come at you. I liked that. But when it didn't work, I should have opted for something different. When we did the maandamano and the government just shut down the finance bill, but they didn't change a bit of other things. What I think young people should have done is we should have dressed up very nicely and we should have started entering office spaces. For example, here in Kirinyaga University, there is a place like Villas or Spencer. There is Kirinyaga County Government. There is Chamber of Commerce here in Kutus. There is national offices in Kerugoya. We have something like nice digital city in Moya. And a few other big companies. We should have started entering those spaces. And what I mean when I say entering those spaces is, you have an idea imekaa kwa nyumba. Wewe amka asubuhi enda nice digital city. Waambie hii marketing strategy yenu ni mbaya. Nipatie chance, let me do this. I'll do this for you once for free. The next time I'll do it and you should pay me. Go there with like 5 other young people who see things the same way. Do it. Invest as much time as possible. If it will take you 3 months, do it. Then do it. That's how you set yourself up there. Those of us in the national sector, not national, the public sector, we're intrigued in the public sector. Go to Kirinyaga County Government, volunteer, go there, start beginning to shape things there. You visit Kirinyaga County Government, it's understaffed. Why are they understaffed? Their budget is running on deficit. They cannot hire more staff. That's where young people come in. Go there, fill those spaces, start to do those changes now. Because we don't have to always start from the top. We tried on the top, it didn't work. Let's go to the bottom. Start impacting those communities in your region. I like young people that have started these organizations that visit orphanages. Those young people are feeding a maximum of 10,000. Okay, in Gatondo North, for example, there is something called, I think, Happy Soul Initiative. Those young people are feeding around 1,000 to around 10,000 orphans every month. And they don't have jobs. The founders of that, they don't have jobs. They're just working on maybe the allowance and the pocket money their parents have given them. But they are making a huge difference. I like a young man who's filling up the social spaces called J.M. Karanja. He's the former president of Kirinyaga University. We see him in Kameme. We started seeing him in Inoro. Then another time we saw him in Citizen. But he's constantly at Kameme. He's a friend of mine and he told me when he entered Kameme, started doing it for free. Today they pay him. day they pay him, but he started doing it for free. And today he's recognized in Murang'a County as one of the young leaders that are shaping the political scene. Look at someone like Benihin Walubengo. Benihin Walubengo started volunteering at kanisa ya Pastor T. And that's where he began to grow. You see, so unapata, we need to find a way to fill all these vacancies. Whatever industry you want to specialize in, just go, volunteer, start doing your thing. Volunteer, start doing your thing. If you go to, for example, a company like Joy Millers, they're not open to what you're doing, look for another one. Try it there. You'll eventually find a person, or rather a baby boomer, because baby boomers are running the country, who's open to your kind of change. And they'll give you the opportunity to do that. So that's what I think young people should do, because we cannot underminer forever. And the problem with undermining forever is, forgive me for not being grammatical about underminer. The problem with that is we are killing businesses. There's a friend of my brother. My brother stays in Nakuru County. 3 brothers. They have a shop. They are called the 3 Brothers Fashion. A very interesting fashion storehouse. They sell shoes. They sell clothes. Just up on Nakuru town. Na hiyo season ya maandamano, their shop was burnt down. We saw on their status on Meandika they've lost investments worth 400,000 Kenya shillings. And it's probably hard-earned money. So we cannot undermine forever, because it will come at the expense of our economy. We cannot discredit the Kenyan government forever, because the value of our bonds and bills will go down. We'll get less and less investment from the exterior. We'll kill our tourism sector. We'll kill our recreational center. Our recreational and entertainment sectors. So that's what I think young people should do as far as the political sector. The social sector, young people need to create families. What I mean when I say create families, young people know how to group. If you're an introvert, find a group where maybe 2 or 3 introverts. People who understand you. Create a community around those people. Then create a safety net. You don't even need relatives to create a safety net. You just need strangers who speak your language, you understand where you're coming from. Create a safety net around you. Then from that point, you will find people who are speaking your language, people who are for you, not against you, people who give you positive energy. Because when you isolate yourself the way we are doing, or the kind of crisis we saw in Japan, where young people have refused to leave their homes, we don't want to see that in Africa. So young people need to group here in Kenya, especially in Kenya, so that we don't have issues of a lady who doesn't have a social circle. So she meets this boy, he takes advantage of her. The kind of issue we saw, this trending podcast, Sophie and Bumpy. So it's because unapata Sophie ako isolated. Hana friends, hana community of people who are looking out for her. Because we need to create systems where we are protecting one another in those social systems or those social groups, to the point of you say you're in a group of 5 people, we know your location. All 4 of us know where you are, who you went to, where you went, who is this person, we've met him, we know the kind of a person he is. As a group, we need to approve so that we ensure you are safe. We need to also make sure this guy, let's say you're a lady, this guy knows mkikosana, si ati anakufukuza ama anakuchapa, he can just give us a call to kukujia, something like that. So we create safety nets for one another that ensure we are safe.
Okay.
Yes.
So you mentioned the former president of the university, right?
Yes.
What's his name again?
J.M. Karanja.
Yes. So Is he someone you'd like to follow? Would you like to follow in his footsteps, maybe? Would you like to venture into that area of leadership? You said you're still a student, right?
Yes.
Would you like to venture into leadership here in school?
Kirinyaga University is an institution that is amazing. I remember when I was in first year, that's when I met Mr. Karanja. And I remember coming very aggressively as a first year, and I'm like, when I want to I want to vie for president as a first year. Back then I didn't understand how campuses work. And I remember he really advised me in terms of what Kirinyaga University needs, what you can and cannot do. So as far as going for a political seat within the campus, yes, I plan to. This year we're having our election. I plan to vie for the position of president Kirinyaga University.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what are some of the values that guide your decision in your everyday life, and how do you think they will influence your leadership as president?
Okay. I don't know whether this is a value. I don't know whether this is a value, but I'm thinking, let me put it this way. I make my decisions from a point of God. I'm anti the movement of God does not exist, or young people should neglect God, because the foundation of God is love. And we need a lot of love. Hey, some of us has a lot of family issues, but we just need a source of love that we know we can rely on. So I make my decisions from a point of godliness. I am guided a lot by scripture. I like to look at leaders in the past and how they carried themselves, and how most people God has appointed in the scriptures came from nothing. I like to say I come from nothing because I don't necessarily come from a prominent family. When you say Joram Githaiga, Githaiga is not a big name at all. So the Christian values I have guide me. I'm not talking about the hypocritical kind of values that I don't deal with non-believers. I judge people who don't take God seriously. No, my Christianity is governed from a point of love. Let's love one another. I mean, we don't show each other enough affection. Because like today I was in church, and this drunkard came in, and he wanted to sit down on this row, and these ladies, he's talking to these ladies, they're not responding. I felt bad, because sasa kwa nini umuongeleshi? The only difference is you're smart, he's not. He's drunk, you're not. So probably a guy like that just needs to be shown a lot of love. He just needs someone to treat him like he's important, and it will be a game changer for him. So love really influences how I deal with people. Godly love, agape. Something else is mercy. Before I look at people from a point of alifanya makosa, so we should discriminate him. A lot of people, for example, used to Sophie and Bumpy looked at the situation from Sophie's angle. But I was also thinking, okay, Sophie amekosewa, lakini why is Bumpy like this? Because you don't wake up in the morning and you start being demonic like that. You know? So what are some of the insecurities that have led him to here? What has he been needing that he has been lacking over the years to the point of he turned rogue or he became dark? So mercy is very important to me. I think right now if I met a rapist, my first reaction wouldn't be, you're such a bad person, it would be, why did he rape? You know, like let me first of all hear your story, because I heard the girl's story. Like you really messed up the girl, that was wrong. But where are you coming from? You happen to have slapped your girlfriend. Where are you coming from, bro? This girl happened to have stolen your money, or she just tore you apart. Where is she coming from? No. So we often ignore those aspects. What led to. So mercy is also very important. Something else I feel is very important is putting in the work. Putting in the work is very important for me. I think it's a value that governs how I deal with people on a daily basis. Because I want to marry very early. I'm 21 right now. By 25, but I should have closed that chapter. But now, when I talk about marrying age 25, can I afford it? Do I have the grit, you know? Do I have the muscle, the capacity, my personality, my character, my finances, my view of the world, my ambitions? Do they have the capacity to house marriage? You see, so it needs a lot of work. So most times as young people, we talk about things like, I want to do this, but what are you doing that will allow you to be able to do that at an early age? You see? So putting in the work is also a very important value. I also like to work with time. I take time very seriously. And to those of us that did Outlier, because I happen to have done Outlier, we take time very seriously. Outlier taught us a very big lesson. Because Outlier, you're paid based on time, not the quality of work. So unapata, the more minutes you spend doing a task, the more they'll pay you. So I learned to take time very seriously, because you realize, yesterday I was, last year I was 20. The year before that I was 90. Today I'm 21. Tomorrow I'll be 22. You see, things like that. So I take time very seriously, because time is what governs experience. You gain experience because you took the time. Time is what governs how well you do something or how well you don't do something. So time is also very important to me. And lastly, humility. I don't like, growing up, I tended to feel like I was better than everyone. I mean, come on, I could speak very well, I was very informed, I was very confident. I would be like, I'd meet a person like, what are you? What are you? Until I sat down with my mother, and she explained to me my origin. The kind of people my grandparents were, how normal they were, how you know when you sit down with your parents, then they give you some of the aspects of your family that are just dark and twisted, then you're like, wow, I'm so unworthy. And that taught me to look at other people from a point of, probably their family is better. Probably their family is better. Most times when I go to church, I like to be like, the reason as to why all of us are in church here today is because we needed God more, or we are so messed up, we need to be fixed more than a person who doesn't go to church. Instead of looking at it from the point of, wow, ule aendangi kanisa, ule ni mbaya. Like I like to look at it in terms of, ni sisi wabaya. Because you know, kama wewe unasikia njaa na mimi sisikii njaa, wewe utaenda kutafuta chakula. Si mimi, mimi labda sihitaji. So you meet a person and maybe a student, they are not in class, they are doing a business. Stop looking at it in terms of you're so privileged. Maybe their ambitions are just bigger than yours. That's why they are doing it. They are saying they need to do it more than you. So viewing people from a point of other people are better than me, it helped me a lot. Yes. As far as how I deal with the day-to-day.
So to wrap it up, Joram, what's the impact you've made so far, and what's the next move from here on?
I've done quite a bit. Okay. So through Reville, as we were doing our community development program, I've interacted with between 20,000 to around 50,000 people across Kirinyaga County, and visiting high schools, TVETs. I visited a couple of schools, but those students are all combined. They sum up to just about the same amount of numbers. I would say I've also really impacted. Okay, I have a family I've created for myself, a couple of young people I mentor, and so far I think that list is heading in its 30s. So I've made a few changes in our society. Also, the kind of program I introduced in Kirinyaga County government was completely new, because the Department of Gender will mostly focus on the social and the political. They'll mostly ignore the economic. So that was a new concept for them. And I would say some of the conversations, for example, I've had with student leaders across various universities, have also one way or the other impacted society. In my home constituency, I would say I keep track of a couple of youth groups and what they do. I remember there is a time I went to the police station at 1 a.m. My parents should not know this, they didn't know it. To bail out one of my friends because he was like, you're the youth leader, and I've been arrested, and these police officers have refused to hear my case. So I've not done a lot of things, but quite a few. Yes, I would say that's the greatest impact I've made so far.
Okay. So what's your next move?
What I want to do next is in Kirinyaga University, for example, I want to introduce Business Expo. We often find in Kirinyaga University there's a fashion culture, there's a tech culture, but there's no business culture. Students don't know how to pitch, they don't know how to come up with business plans, they don't know what to do with their ideas. So I'm thinking about introducing a mega business expo plan. Where we invite speakers from across the country, experts in the business sector, to speak to young people about where to start and how they can do it. I guess something I forgot to say I've also done is I've advised a lot of businesses, close to around 50 startups, on how to start their business and how it can run. So I want to be able to influence as many startups and as many young people as far as them venturing to the business sector as much as possible. Because I've been in the corporate sector. I told you I'm the head of finance in a finance company, in a tech company by the name of Merge Group. And very soon I'm looking at being promoted to being company secretary. So I've been in the corporate space. That's one thing I want to do. To impact as many young people in the business sector and to facilitate as much financial literacy as possible. I want to be able to do that across Kirinyaga County by the end of the year. I want to visit every TVET in Kirinyaga County and to talk to those young people and to tell them they've not been exposed and they've not been given a lot of facilities, or their facilities are not very advanced, but they are not limited in their capacity to do big things, especially in the sector of innovation, self-employment, and starting businesses. That is in the sector of entrepreneurship. I want to be able to talk to as many young people in high schools concerning issues like mental health, concerning how you discover what is your purpose in life, how you build in that sector. I want to be able to finish writing my book this year. Then I'll be able to launch it. Sijaenda mbali sana, niko page 79, but nataka tuone kama by the end of the year nitakuwa nimefika page 200. By the grace of God, if I sit down very properly, I'll be able to do that. Then I also want to influence how the finance industry of this country functions. So I've created a program that's targeting community groups. I call it a capitalized community group system that will be coming up with a financial instrument that influences how community groups function. It's coming up, but if we can introduce that system, it can work very well, and we can sell it to some of the NGOs that are targeting community groups. We can also sell it to the county governments because they are very keen to support community development across the country. I should also mention I'm not a communist, but I'm a huge believer in community groups. I guess something else I also want to be able to do is to use, assuming by the grace of God I become president of Kirinyaga, is to use that position to create a partnership between Kirinyaga University and the Kirinyaga County Government. I said Kirinyaga County Government is understaffed, and Kirinyaga University has a lot of unexposed students. So we sit down, we write a very good MOU where we'll send our young people to Kirinyaga County Government. Then they can major in the various departments that are the county government. They can volunteer, they can be exposed, they can just offer themselves. Then they'll be able to grow their portfolio, their CVs. They'll be able to even know how to manage themselves, to those who want to start companies, how that will work, generally grow themselves. Then also we will also be able to ensure Kirinyaga County Government is one of the best service providers across the country. It was my dream by the time I'm 30 to be able to help come up with an economic model for Kirinyaga County that would ensure it grows 10% by 10% annually. So that in about 20 to 25 years it can become self-sufficient. I know it's not provided in the constitution, but I think it's something we can do. Because there's a lot of value in this country. And so much more. I'm thinking about a lot of things. So that's mostly what I want to be able to do. If I condense it. Yes.
So thank you, Bwana Joram, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to more interviews with you. Okay. So there you have it, folks. That is Joram Githaiga. Good Joram.